What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and if the internet wasn't doing its job, then it wouldn't be purposely misunderstanding or portraying jokes to be offended by. And their number one target for that is, of course, the Joe Rogan. You would think, with all the criticisms he's been levying at Donald Trump over the past few days, that that would buy him some slack in the mainstream media. But of course, it appears as though that is not the case. And Variety, as well as the entirety of the mainstream media, is now aggressively trying to cancel Joe Rogan for, wait for it, as Christian Toto writes, complaining about the lack of law and order. That's right. A couple days ago, he, on his podcast, talked about, we're talking about a couple of things with a friend of his who is a comedian. And he made not really a joke, but a piece of poignant commentary on the state of things in California. Like, I actually worry about my viewers who live in California. I know it's probably not like that everywhere, but boy, it looks bad from the outside looking in. It's got me, it would have me so worked up and scared, I'd probably need to change my shorts. Good thing I have this awesome sponsor in Sheath. Check this out. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor. That's right, Sheath. These boxers are designed to keep your balls off your legs. Sheath has 3 individual compartments to keep everything down there separate and cool and comfortable. And hey, since they've been a long-time sponsor, I've heard from many of you who have tried out Sheath and really love it. They were invented by a U.S. Army soldier who came up with the idea for Sheath during his second tour in Iraq, where it was hot as heck and his boys needed to breathe. And on top of all sorts of awesome designs for Sheath, they've added all sorts of winter items, hoodies, gator necks, and all sorts of base layers. Head on over to the link in the description and pinned comment down below. Use my promo code to save and support the channel and keep everything nice, cool, and dry. I know you probably don't think about trying new undergarments as a dude very often, but I highly recommend at least giving them a try. You've got literally nothing to lose, and if you find the experience that I find, you'll be very comfortable and happy you did. LA unhoused advocates, quote, shocked and saddened by Joe Rogan's crazy aggressive remarks. Unhoused means homeless in woke speak. Now, I'll tell you this much. You know, I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again, I'm sure, but you know, homelessness is not something that is, you know, that I really feel comfortable memeing on. It sucks. You end up homeless for a variety of reasons, either addiction or mental health issues. Yes, there are some people that choose to live like that, but it's a small percentage. And but the thing is, they're purposely misconstruing what he said. You know, Joe Rogan makes tasteless comments about ending homeless people in Los Angeles. That's not what he said. It's so ridiculous that they're just so willing to lie and misrepresent things. Advocates for Los Angeles's unhoused community, homeless, are holding Joe Rogan accountable for encouraging bad behavior towards unhoused people on his influential podcast. Well, he must have said something really heinous. I mean, you're saying that he encouraged people to go hunting homeless people, essentially, is what your headlines are suggesting in multiple media pieces. In recent interviews with Variety, advocates for unhoused people criticized the latest installment of the Joe Rogan Experience, which included a discussion about homelessness in LA between the host and his guest, Tom Segura. During the episode, which began streaming on July 14th on Spotify, Rogan acted surprised when the comedian Segura pointed out that unhoused people's belongings are, quote, protected by law in LA. I'm surprised by that too. Quote, oh, a homeless person's property is protected, Rogan asked, to which Segura replied, absolutely, and implied that anyone who tried to move or take an unhoused person's, a homeless person's belongings would face consequences for their actions. Well, if that's true, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I just watched a really interesting documentary on like squatting and how, you know, people will get in and move into your house as like a roommate and just how like extraordinarily difficult it is to actually get them out. They move in, they stop paying rent, and then like every law in the books protects them. And so there's all these people that are ending up with like, you know, they're like in a 2-bedroom apartment, and they have like this lunatic roommate that they can't kick out of their own house. A situation that was brought on by them needing a few extra bucks every month to cover the rent. I imagine the protections are very similar with the homeless population. They can probably put their stuff wherever the heck they want, and it will stay there and be protected, unless, of course, there's an awards show. Because if you remember, let's see, homeless awards show. I believe this was in LA, if I remember correctly, where they had to move the homeless people so that they could have a pretty show. Here you go, Fox 11. City of Los Angeles accused of moving the homeless in order to prepare for the Oscars. For the first time in history, the 93rd Academy Awards being held at Union Station in downtown LA. It's an area that's plagued by homelessness. But come Oscar Sunday, the homeless will not be seen anywhere near Union Station. They came to us about a week ago saying that we had to move by Friday at 6 p.m. because they were trying to clean up for the Oscars, and they told us if we didn't move, they're going to demolish our stuff, says DJ, a man living in a tent downtown LA. DJ says the city offered an option. They forced us to go to the Grand Hotel on 3rd and Figueroa. They kicked everyone out of Union Station so it looks better for the image. Well, you get a night in a hotel, that's pretty nice. I imagine if you're in that particular situation. Not exactly a surprise to Andy Bales of Union Rescue Mission. Bales says anytime there's a big national event, LA tries to sweep its homelessness problem under the rug. We shouldn't be about putting on a good show. We should be doing about doing what's good for our brothers and sisters, our neighbors who are suffering in our streets. I 100% agree. 100% agree. City Council member Kevin DeLeon, who represents District 14, issued the following statement. Well, the 93rd Academy Awards are being held at Union Station this year, and despite irresponsible rumors, no unhoused residents are being forced to relocate. That seems odd. That goes directly against the sworn, the statement of a particular unhoused individual. Anyway, so the conversation between Segura and Joe Rogan continues and says, goes on to say, you'll get arrested, Rogan said. Hilarious. But they wouldn't arrest you if you fired on somebody. Maybe you should just go and, do that to homeless people. I like your idea, Segura told Rogan, who claimed that nobody does anything about outrageous crime in LA anymore. Now, his statement out of context, obviously, not good. But in the context of the conversation, which is only 3 sentences, and I know this is probably really difficult for the super ultra huge mega brains in the media, all you have to do is read the single sentence before and the single sentence after to get his point. He's making a point that the crime in LA, in particular the kind that puts people's lives at risk, goes unprosecuted or lightly prosecuted. We just saw this guy who was out on bail for one crime. Didn't he end the life of a NASCAR driver while he was out on bail? I mean, it's insane. It's totally not safe in LA. I mean, this is just undeniable. Why do you think people are so quietly moving? A lot of these like lefties, these far lefty guys, once they get money, where do they go? They leave the city. Look what Patrisse Cullors did of BLM. She left the city, moved to a gated community that was 99.7% white or something like that. It was insanely high. Okay. Anybody who gets money gets out of the city, and they pretend like they care. All that you leave behind is the homeless and the dregs. And the city doesn't want to fix it because it means dealing with the reality of addiction. And the reality that these people have, there's mental health is a serious issue. But it's like they don't want to fix it. And yes, there are some homeless who, don't want to be fixed or they don't want to be put up. Fine. But what about all the rest? How about our military abandoning so many former servicemen and women? Suffice to say, Rogan's remarks were not well received on social media by local activists. Imagine calling yourself an activist. Get a life. Theo Henderson, an advocate for unhoused people, who created a podcast, We the Unhoused. So you don't have a home, but you have a podcast. Okay. Expressed concerns that Rogan's repulsive statements could provoke listeners to harm homeless people in real life. No, they won't. Are you joking? On what planet? He was clearly making commentary. He was commentating on the fact that, LA is dangerous. And of course, there's a whole slew of these comments about Joe Rogan and his homeless and how he wants them all to be removed systematically from the planet, which is, of course, a joke. Ridiculous. Joe posts repulsive comments about ending homeless people, stuns LA's unhoused. Get out of here. Nothing like a couple of rich Fs sitting around enjoying cigars, criticizing people at their rock bottom. And that last line, maybe you should just go end the homeless people. I mean, he was obviously making a point, but, the media is incapable of ever understanding that. They don't want to. They wanted to write these headlines. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do click that red subscribe button down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.